so much about space that we don't know about. And I think that is what makes it so interesting, but it's also what makes it incredibly terrifying. And speaking of terrifying, today I've got a list of some of the scariest things that have ever come down from space. And who knows, they might just be cursed. So grab those spacesuits and buckle in for the top 10 cursed objects that came from space, part 2. Starting us off at number 10, the Kaidun Meteorite. While it may not have been the biggest meteorite to crash into the Earth, it certainly raised many questions once it was here. On December 30th, 1980, what looked like a fireball was seen in the sky hurling its way towards the Soviet military base. Now, upon impact, they discovered a surprisingly small stone weighing only about 4 pounds, but it was what was inside the stone that caused a commotion. Inside the meteorite was a wide range of incredibly rare and unique minerals, many of which are not found in nature, causing quite a bit of confusion and debate around the stone's origins. Some scientists believe it originated from the Martian moon of Phobos, but no one really knows for certain. While there have been several meteorites from Mars to land on Earth, if suspicions are true, the Kaidun would be the first Martian moon rock to be found on Earth. And who knows what that could mean. Next up at number 9, a piece of the moon. As fate would have it, a piece of the moon made its way into the desert of Morocco, and in 2014, it was discovered and sold privately to a collector. The moon chunk weighed about 6 pounds and was extremely rare, as very few pieces of lunar material have been known to crash land onto the planet. Now, as cool as this seems, scientists have discovered that moon dust can cause huge health risks, and long-term exposure is highly toxic and has the potential to even cause death. So whoever has this piece of moon rock better have it sealed tight, because it could be the end of them. Next up at number 8, Tomanowos. To understand the craziness of this meteorite, we have to rewind a few billion years. Well, 4.5 billion years to be exact. Meteorites are usually made of iron and nickel. These iron and nickel atoms were formed inside stars that eventually exploded, sending the elements rocketing across the nebula. Over time, the elements were forced together to create what we call protoplanets, which were the first planet-like orbs of the solar system. Now, 4.5 billion years ago, Tomanowos was at the core of one of these protoplanets, but at some point in time likely collided with another protoplanet, sending huge chunks back into space. Then, 17,000 years ago, it crashed down into the Earth and landed on an ice cap in Canada. It wasn't discovered until thousands of years later, and by that time it had made quite the journey down to Oregon. The 15-ton rock caused quite a stir and even a lawsuit when in 1902 a man tried to steal it from the indigenous people and charge others to see the strange and mysterious space rock. But the joke was on him, as the Oregon Iron and Steel Company actually owned the land where he'd found the meteorite and sued for its return. Whatever it was, there was something about this meteorite that drew people in. And who knows, maybe it really was cursed. Next up at number 7, a strange black object. In July of this year, Australian farmer Mike Miners was doing his usual morning survey of his farm when all of a sudden he spotted something that caught his eye. There in the distant part of the grasslands was a large jet black object measuring roughly 9 feet and sticking straight up out of the ground. Unsure of what was going on, he took a closer look at the object and eventually decided to call the Civil Aviation Safety Authority to see if they could help. Once he was on the phone with them, they quickly urged him to call NASA directly. Eventually, it was discovered to be a piece of space junk, likely from the SpaceX Dragon capsule, but many conspiracy theorists didn't seem to buy this answer, believing it to be some kind of remnant from a UFO. And to tell you the truth, I have no idea if those conspiracy theorists are losing their minds or if they are onto something, but anything that is falling from outer space will always freak me out. Coming in at number 6, the Microscopic Diamond. There are many things people can expect to find falling from the sky, but tiny microscopic space diamonds would not be at the top of my list. Back in 1969, an unexpected meteorite came crashing down into Mexico, which led to one of the biggest manhunts trying to find all the scattered fragments. experience. One of the strange finds were small diamond fragments containing, now stay with me here, isotopic signatures of materials formed prior to the existence of our solar system. Which, listen, I'm not really blessed with much of a science brain, but essentially it's really frickin' crazy what they found. The origins of the diamond is up for debate. There are two theories about how they came to be. The first is the formation inside a giant star that long ago exploded in a supernova, and the second is from an asteroid impact in space. But either way, it's an incredibly strange find that raised more questions upon its discovery than it answered. Next up at number 5, a molten object. Maybe it was aliens, or maybe it's some cursed artifact from outer space, but either way, no one had any clue what they'd found. Back in 2016, an inexplicable molten object fell from the sky in Siberia and was actually caught on film. Two YouTubers said they received the footage from a witnessing Russian man and wasted no time posting the video for all to see. Whatever it was covered in green flames, an unrecognizable white foamy substance, and grabbed the attention of local firemen who can be seen attempting to put out the giant and strange green flames. Many online viewers were quick to try and figure out what exactly they were witnessing, and some said it was probably a satellite that fell onto the earth, but some swear they saw a UFO hovering over Turkey just 3 days prior and believe the object to have been the crashed extraterrestrial ship. Maybe the aliens were trying to send us a message? Let's just hope it was a crashed satellite. Coming in at number 4, fireballs. There are few things that make us worry about the end of days more than giant fire orbs raining down from the sky and terrorizing our planet. Well, in September of 2019, it seemed like just that was happening in Chile when huge and mysterious flaming objects lit up the sky, cascading over the largest island in Chile, horrifying the locals. The fireballs plummeted to the earth and caused 7 bushfires across the island, though luckily no one was injured. Initially, most assumed it was meteorites crashing down, but after a few days inspecting the site, no traces were found at any of the 7 locations. Officials were confused by the findings, as the only other logical explanation would be space debris, but that as well seemed to have been ruled out by many. So if it wasn't a meteorite and it wasn't a rogue piece of space debris, what could have fallen from the sky? Could it have anything to do with an unknown space civilization? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Coming in at number 3, metal shreds. Long before Chile saw the flaming balls of fire crashing down, Argentina was met with an equally terrifying phenomenon. Back in 1991, out of nowhere, giant shards of flaming metal appeared glowing in the sky. The ominous showers appeared to be darting down towards the planet, terrifying the locals. This metallic rain turned out to be fragments from a Russian space station named the Salyut 7, which to this day is still considered to be one of the largest human-made objects to re-enter the atmosphere. Now, of course, engineers made many attempts to guide the fragments toward the Atlantic Ocean, but as the station was in a low orbit to the planet, they were not really able to properly redirect anything. So soon the 88,000 pounds of metal were crashing down to the earth, and although no one was injured, it certainly terrorized all who witnessed it. Coming in at number 2, Vladamir Komarov. Infamously known as the man who fell from space, Vladimir was a famous Russian astronaut, or cosmonaut as they were called during the Cold War space race. Back in 1967, he embarked on a crazy mission that, although he was completely trained to complete, was ultimately rushed. Allegedly, the spacecraft had a multitude of structural issues, and despite engineers warning the Soviet officials that the craft was not ready, they continued with the mission as planned. Vladimir took off and made his way up into the eternity of space, and even executed 16 orbits around the Earth. But something went awry with his mission, so he was instructed to make his way back down to Earth. However, things went south upon trying to re-enter the atmosphere when his parachute would not engage, and Vladimir plummeted back towards the Earth, crashing in a horrific explosion. Rumor has it that while he was plummeting to his fate, he was screaming at the Soviets for forcing him to do this mission. And while he may not have been something that originated from space, it was certainly cursed from the very beginning of its journey. And last up in our number 1 spot, the Roswell Incident. Back in 1947, a huge metallic object crashed down on the Earth, causing a major uproar for conspiracy theorists across the globe. Now, normally I'm not one to jump on the conspiracy wagon, but I don't know how anyone can look me in the eye and tell me that this is not the spinning image of a flying saucer. I mean, come on. Now, here is where it gets crazy. After the dust from the initial sighting settled, the Roswell Air Force released a statement admitting that they had found a flying disc, but then quickly retracted that statement, saying instead it was simply a conventional weather balloon, and have stuck to this story ever since. But this change in description caused many to believe the government was covering up valuable information. Then, in 1979, Lieutenant Jesse Marcel, a key figure in the whole debacle, was interviewed for a documentary about the incident and admitted that despite what they told newspapers in 1947, that he truly believed it was an extraterrestrial entity that was found that day, and that the government had ordered him to keep quiet. Now, that isn't suspicious at all. So what do you guys think? Government weather balloon or top secret alien spaceship? As always, thanks so much for watching, guys. I'm Kennedy. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.